Welcome back to the 21st episode of the BatChums podcast. I'm Drew Leiter, and joining me tonight is my co-host, the man, the myth, the new legend, Mike Gordon.
Howdy. Wah, wah, wah.
How are we doing, sir?
I am just peachy, sir. It's a terrible penguin. Sorry, I apologize to everybody out there and Burgess Meredith. If they have if there's any sort of people out there that are big fans of his, I do apologize because that was terrible. Sorry.
All right,
But the
so
penguin's back.
Yes, he's back. Is this the third time we've seen him?
No, I believe
No.
this is his second appearance.
Second time. Okay. I just felt like we've seen him more. or maybe it's just me because I'm also reading Tom King's The Penguin series for my other podcast for Station
Gotcha.
TCU. So
yeah.
So maybe that's why I'm just getting a lot of Penguin right now.
Yeah. So far we've seen the Riddler twice, the Joker twice, and now this is the second appearance of the Penguin. So
Okay.
And we've seen last week we saw the Catwoman the first time. So yeah, so far yeah, this is yeah, but I'm trying to keep track because I am curious to see which bad guy shows up the most. But I think right now they're all tied.
So this is season 1, episode 21, The Penguin Goes Straight. Episode aired Wednesday, March 23rd, 1966, directed by Leslie H. Martinson, and written by Lorenzo Semple Jr. and John Cardwell.
Now, this one has sorry, this is kind of this one is based on a few stories from what I've been gathering. So I'm doing, I'll finish the research on when we do the second episode because I'm curious about it. But Detective Comics 1958, which came out in December 1941, that was pretty bad month. Anyway, that was the first appearance of the Penguin, and this one in his very first appearance, the Penguin tries to frame, my understanding is tries to frame Batman. So I do think that this one is kind of has its origins there. We all know that Lorenzo Semple Jr., who's one of the main, he's one of the he's one of the consultants on the show, but he's also, when he writes episodes, he uses a lot of the stories, the comic stories, the original comic stories, as basis for a lot of the stories that he does. So, but yeah, this is his very first appearance. It's kind of taken from that. Now there are other stories in which the Penguin goes quote unquote straight. There's Batman 70, Batman number 76, Detective Comics 171. So I will try to do as much research as I can for the next one, and see if any of those stories have an influence on this story, as on this actual storyline as well. But as of right now, I can definitely tell you that the Penguin's first appearance in Detective Comics 58 looks like that is the basis for this.
Interesting. One of the things I wanted to note was I noticed the last few episodes that we've been watching have had co-writers on them. So we've had 2 writers on them instead of 1.
Yeah. And as far as who wrote the original story, when it was, when the Penguin was introduced, it's sort of a mishmash of Bill Finger, Bob Kane, Jerry Robinson, those folks. So who's to say who exactly did what? We're finding out all the time that that different folks did different things. So, and right now, it's very difficult to to know if anything, definitive that happened uh, back in 1941 with comics. But we do know that those three gentlemen were involved in some way. So, in creating the Penguin and in writing that very first story.
All right, so let's dive into this episode. Gotham City on a Wednesday afternoon. Penguin and his date, Miss Van Clymer, and the rest of the audience exit during the intermission of a play for some refreshments. Suddenly, a man in a Halloween mask appears and shoots down a chandelier with an automatic weapon. He tells the patrons to put their hands up. He attempts to steal a ruby pendant. Penguin tells everyone to get back and demands the robber surrender. The thief tries to shoot Penguin, but his umbrella is bulletproof. The thief tries to escape, but catches him by the neck with the handle of his umbrella and then punches him out. Penguin returns the ruby pendant to its owner, Miss Sophia Starr. Grateful, she kisses the penguin on the cheek. All right, I'm going to stop myself here for a minute because I said his date, Miss Van Clymer. I wasn't sure if that was actually his date, but it felt like it to me.
Yeah, he kind of left her in the lurch. Uh, yeah, I don't. Yeah, it definitely was the woman he was with. At least in the beginning, anyway.
Right.
The only other thing about that sequence that really struck me is that it when the weird kind of mask that the thief or the criminal was wearing, but when he opened up fire on the penguin's umbrella, I was like, aren't those going to ricochet and hit everybody?
Well, if you looked at his umbrella, it looked like there was holes in it. So it
It was
looked
torn
like
up.
it.
It was torn
Yeah.
up. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what logistically happened there, but because obviously they didn't go through. But yeah, it was pretty interesting. It was pretty intense. I do say, like, I
Yeah.
mean, we don't see guns just being fired at people on this series very often.
Mm-mm.
And so I think this might be the first time I can really think of where someone just takes a gun and opens fire on someone. And that was startling to me.
Yeah. The only other gunshot I remember on the series is back in the episode with um with the escape artist. What was her name? And we
Oh,
had
right,
the
with Zelda.
Zelda. Thank you. With Zelda the Great, and we had those two mafia guys
Right. That's
who ended
true.
up shooting each other.
That's right. Right.
That was the only other time I remember gunfire on the show. Back at police headquarters, Commissioner Gordon is astonished to learn from Chief O'Hara that the Penguin prevented a crime. Perplexed by what the Penguin is up to, Commissioner Gordon calls in Batman. I found this hilarious because there's no crime being committed, but just because the Penguin's involved, we're bringing in Batman.
Yeah. Well, it is odd.
Yeah, it is odd. At Wayne Manor, Bruce and Dick are practicing their putting in the living room as Aunt Harriet watches. Alfred comes in and tells Bruce that he has a call from a Mr. K. Rhyme. Bruce explains that Mr. K. Rhyme is an investor for Wayne Foundation. Bruce decides it is time for Dick to learn about investments. Bruce tells Aunt Harriet that they may be gone for some time because they're going to the stock exchange. After Bruce and Dick leave, Aunt
Weird.
Harriet is worried that Mr. K. Rhyme may be a crook because his name sounds like crime.
She she's not that she's not that blind.
I found that hilarious. Oh, the other thing I wanted to point out before we move on, when Alfred answers the bat phone, we see
He seems
him
really
dusting
annoyed.
the annoyed. Yeah, I'm like he's dusting the Shakespeare bust, and the phone rings, and he's like really annoyed. Like
Yeah, he's
I don't
like,
ever remember.
I'll get him. Like, just whatever, sir. Like, and he's just like, yeah, he is over it.
I never remembered him being irritated like that answering the bat phone. At police headquarters, Commissioner Gordon and Chief O'Hara question the thief, but he isn't talking. Sorry, I'm about to lose it. Commissioner Gordon turns out the light, and Batman and Robin dance around in the shadows, frightening the thief, and he faints. The way Batman was dancing around in the shadows,
That was scary.
I found it hilarious. I'm like, that's supposed to be scary. I found
We'll
that
just
silly.
we'll just say it was unsettling.
Yes. Oh man. A cop comes in and tells Commissioner Gordon that the Penguin just entered the Gotham City Millionaires Club. Batman and Robin rush there in the Batmobile. At the Gotham City Millionaires Club, Penguin foils an attempt to kidnap Reggie Rich. Batman and Robin arrive, claiming to catch the Penguin red-handed. Reggie explains that Batman and Robin have it all wrong. The Penguin saved him. Penguin informs Batman that he needs to get going. He's got some business with Sophia Starr. She's putting him in charge of protecting her jewelry. Penguin hands Batman his card. The Penguin Protective Agency Incorporated. Alfred goes undercover in the guise of a man from Floyd's Insurance Limited. Creating a diversion, Alfred switches out Penguin's cigarette holder with one that has the transmitter inside. The handle of Penguin's umbrella lights up, warning him of the bug. Penguin finds the bug that Alfred planted. Alfred grabs the rug from under Penguin, knocking him to the ground. Alfred escapes.
You
I found
cannot.
that funny too.
We have established this. You cannot fool the Penguin when it comes to tracking devices. They've tried this before, and when Bruce Wayne tried to do it, and it didn't work. And so I don't know why they would think that it would work with the Penguin again. Like, he just is too savvy for that.
Yeah, so yeah, that's the second time they've tried that, because the first time was when Bruce went into
Yeah,
the
his shop.
Penguin shop, and then that's when he ended up being put on that conveyor belt, going to the fiery furnace.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but I thought, how's Alfred going to get out of this? He pulls the rug out from under the Penguin.
It does.
Who needs Batman? We got Alfred to take out the Penguin.
Do not get on Alfred's bad side. That was the other thing too. It's like, it's one thing for Alfred to ask Alfred to go and take pictures of the jewels and everything, but then to ask him to switch out and put a tracking device on the Penguin to switch out his, I'm like, okay, that's pretty risky.
That is risky. He succeeded in doing it, but got caught.
And then he comes back and
I'm
he's like,
surprised.
I'm really sorry that I failed. And Robin's like, you didn't fail. We got the pictures of the jewels. That's what you were there for. It's like, then why have him do anything else? It was pretty risky. And yeah, they shouldn't treat Alfred that way. No wonder he was pretty
Right.
ticked off in the beginning.
No kidding. The other thing, wouldn't wouldn't uh, wouldn't Penguin suspect Alfred of being an agent for Batman because he put a tracking device
He doesn't know
on
it was
him?
Batman.
That's true, but
He
who else would you suspect?
I mean,
One of
Penguin's
the other
got enemies
criminals?
everywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
I guess. I mean, he didn't suspect it when Bruce Wayne did it. I think Penguin's like, hey, look, there are people trying to bug me all the time. I don't know why, but there are people that are trying to bug me all the time. In addition to Batman, who's on my case, and the police and all that, I got to worry about these people who continually try to bug me.
Back at the Batcave, Alfred explains his failure. Batman and Robin state it wasn't a failure. The picture that Alfred got of the jewels allowed him to create fake jewels. Oh, I think I read that wrong. The picture that Alfred got of the jewels allowed them to create fake jewels. Batman and Robin go to Miss Sophia Starr's apartment to break into her safe and replace the real jewels with their fakes so they can catch the Penguin. Instead, the Penguin catches them breaking into the safe. A fight ensues. Miss Sophia Starr walks into the room and Batman and Robin flee. The next day, the Gotham City Times headlines read Crime Fighter Penguin foils dynamic dual jewel heist. Penguin calls Commissioner Gordon to see if they have caught Batman and Robin yet, but they are still at large. Penguin informs Commissioner Gordon of a gala benefit for the Penguin Protection Agency at the Gotham Amusement Pier. Commissioner Gordon calls Batman and informs him of Penguin's gala. Gala. Is it gala or gala?
Gala is usually the case, I think.
Okay. Commissioner Gordon calls Batman and informs him of Penguin's. I just forgot the pronunciation. Gala.
Sure. Party.
Batman and Robin go there in hopes of catching Penguin in criminal activity. While Batman and Robin are spying on Penguin, cement-filled umbrellas fall on their heads, knocking them out. Penguin and his henchmen string up Batman and Robin behind the shooting gallery, directly behind the cutouts. Then the Penguin instructs them to switch out the pellets with real bullets in their umbrella pop guns. In the front of the shooting gallery, Penguin challenges Commissioner Gordon and Chief O'Hara to shoot out the red balloons. If they do, then he'll donate $1,000 to their police benefit fund. Both agree. Batman and Robin, a swinging pair of dead ducks? What on earth can save them? Don't shoot, Commissioner! Don't shoot! Good grief. Good night. Double funeral tomorrow? Same bat time, same bat channel. Can you see any way out?
Yeah, well, I think the obvious way, just to put this out there, the obvious way out is that I don't trust the commissioner and Chief O'Hara to be able to shoot straight. So, so I think Batman and Robin are not in any huge danger, but uh, uh, but this is overall, this is a great second appearance by the Penguin. Burgess Meredith is still just on fire with the role. Uh, he gives him really something really, really juicy to deal with, where he's got this plot where he's you know and it's not that in the first part, in the first story that we saw him in, he had a quote unquote legitimate business, and Batman was hassling him, and this is the kind of the same thing. He's like, look, I'm trying to be legitimate. He's not, but he has the appearance of being legitimate, and he always likes to put it in Batman's face, like, look, like, you think uh you're not going to catch me, and instead I'm going to catch you. And in fact, I did find it odd that both Batman and Robin have no problems basically going in and breaking in and stealing the Sophia Starr's jewels, to replace them, of course, with, again, radioactive ones, which they've used. This is a tool that they've done time and time again, where they've replaced actual things with radioactive things so they can track them. So we've seen them do that before. And yet they seem to have no problem not getting permission. Usually they get permission to do so, but in this case they don't, because they don't want to, key off the Penguin. And instead they end up, at night, which we saw in this episode too. I noticed a lot of it takes place at night, which is not something that usually is the case for this series. Usually it's during the day. You had a lot of night shots of the Batmobile running through town and all that. I very cool looking. Batman, I'm used to seeing him at night, so I mean it kind of fits, but it's just for this series, it's kind of striking. Um, I would also suggest to the Penguin that if you want to make sure that, people don't recognize or people don't think that the villains that you're capturing and fighting against are working with you, maybe you should take away their t-shirts that say Eagle Eye and Dove that are also bird themed. Like, that might be something you might want to consider not doing. I mean, the first guy who opens up and fires at him, that seems to be, I don't think it's legit. I mean, I think he had to deal with him, but the second time when they go to kidnap Reggie Rich, who must be related to Richie Rich, maybe a cousin or something, or maybe Reggie from the Archie comic, I don't know. Anyway, those guys are in those T-shirts that just say Eagle Eye and Dove, and I'm like, come on, guys, like that. You could at least like wear different T-shirts or something.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. That was one thing I was going to point out too. The other one was I was going to point out the same thing about Batman and Robin because I thought that was a pretty stupid idea to go in there and steal the jewels from her safe. Because, like you said, they normally get permission for it, and I can understand not wanting to this time because she's working hand in hand with the Penguin, so of course she'd tell him. But I don't think it was a good plan. I think they should have came up with something a different way to catch the Penguin.
Yeah, they seem to put Alfred in danger recklessly, I think, in this one, which I thought was kind of unfair. And yeah, it is kind of striking though. There's that sequence where they're on the headlines. The headline is that Batman and Robin are thieves, and Chief O'Hara's like, well, you got to admit, Commissioner, it looks pretty bad for them. And the commissioner's like, come on, you don't believe that they're actually trying to steal jewels or whatever. And Chief O'Hara's like, I don't, but and then Batman calls him, or he calls Batman, tell him about the gala, and and then he says, but Batman, don't show up because if you do, I'm gonna have to arrest you. Which that's the first time we've heard that, right?
Yeah.
Like that. Oh my God, that that the police might be against him, which I thought was pretty interesting. It happens all the time in the comics for various storylines, but this is the first time I think it's happened here where uh they for the Batman and Robin are deputized officers of the law in this series. So I would think that, they would have the benefit of the doubt in some cases, but he's like, I'm gonna have to arrest you. Of course, it looks like he's gonna end up shooting him if he can stay on target instead. But
Wouldn't it have been? I was wondering that. Wouldn't it have been a better plan for Penguin just to turn Batman and Robin over instead of trying to get him tricked into being shot?
yeah, that I mean, but Penguin has to do what the Penguin has to do as far as, trying to trying to put him down.
Now, earlier you mentioned about them being out at night. One of the cool shots I one of the shots I thought was cool in this episode was when they were coming out of the Bat Cave and it was dark and they had the yellow headlights on. That looked pretty
Mm.
cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't usually see that very often. There was a lot of uh sort of background, Batman and Robin driving around the city with the rear projection of various cities. Some of it's New York, sometimes it's Munich, sometimes it's I don't know. I don't recognize the cities, but from what I've been doing the research, it seems like they use a whole bunch of different cities for background screens with their footage there. But that's it is fun to see them do that and see them in the Batmobile that way.
An- Another thing I noticed in this episode, we had a lot of shots of just at the at the front of the Batmobile here, where you're seeing, well, they focused on just Batman through his windshield or on Robin through his windshield.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, it felt like shots we hadn't seen that often before. Not like that, anyways.
Right. No, I agree.
So I thought that was pretty cool. I like. I mean, we've seen some new angles and shots and stuff here lately in these various episodes we've been watching recently that we haven't seen before, and I think that's pretty cool. Them just changing things up because we do get a lot
Yeah,
of
no,
stock.
I agree. We've seen some different camera angles from over the shoulder shots. Like if we're in like I don't think the Batmobile has a back seat, but if it did, we've seen shots a couple of episodes ago. We saw them. I think they're in the false face one. We got
Yeah,
like as we were in the back seat. We've seen an over the shoulder shot in the commissioner's office. I think last time. And in this one, we get a lot of night shots. The It's interesting. We brought back, or I don't know if it's Lorenzo Semple who's doing these, but we brought back Batman and Robin scaling the building again, which,
Hmm.
I'm kind of waiting for the first time we see someone open a window and be like, "Hey," like, because we know that, that's a thing. That's a thing
Yeah.
that happens and becomes really like a big part of the show almost every episode. So we're kind of waiting for that first one. But nope, nobody popped out a window this time. It was just they just scaled up the building.
Yep. So yeah, I'm waiting for it to happen too because I remember that happening quite a bit.
The
Right.
um I don't Yeah, it's very good. I'm curious. Outside of we've had some disappointing cliffhanger, or at least results, sort of resolutions to cliffhangers. Last week's wasn't bad with Catwoman. I did thought I liked the way that one played out, really. The ones before that were kind of weak, I thought. So I'll be really curious to see whether this one is just, the cops can't fire and hit anything, or if there's something else going on. So we'll see.
Yeah. We'll see. I think the lamest one we've seen so far is the false face one with the saran wrap
Yeah. Well, no,
on the.
me personally, it was before that where the power went out. It just so happened that the power went out in the city, and it was like, really? That's
Oh yeah, I forgot
that's
about that one. All right. Well, that wraps up another episode. Did you have a shout out, Mike?
I do have a shout out. I wanted to just remind people that I do a couple of other podcasts. So I don't talk about them every week, but I have a lot of fun because we do them at least once or twice a month. One of them is Earth Station Who, and that is where we take a look at classic and current episodes of Doctor Who every other week. When there's new episodes, we review them every week, but when there's not new episodes, we do every other week. We do classic stories, and we even do some big finished audio stories and review those. The crew that I do that with is Mike Faber and Mary Ogle, and we have a great time. We've done it for I don't know how many years now. It seems like it's been almost 10, but I don't know if it can be that so much. But we've done over 300 and some episodes. And we haven't even done, I don't even know if we've done half of the Doctor Who stories that have been done in the 60-year history of the show. So we have a lot of fun talking all about classic and current Doctor Who. So check that out. And also, I do another podcast called The Dragon Con Report, which is all about Dragon Con. It's a monthly look at what's going on in preparation for the big event that happens at the first week in September here in Atlanta. So we've got one of those coming up that we're recording next week. And as people are listening to this, hopefully they're considering going to Dragon Con as well. And the podcast can help them out and prepare, because we try to interview different people and get different looks at the big event. It's a lot of fun to do. We've been doing that one for quite some time as well. So my co-hosts on that one are uh, Jen and Channing, and we just do. It's really a lot of fun. So yeah, so look for those two podcasts, and I appear on other podcasts too here and there. And the main show that I've been doing for over a decade now, or Station One, is still on hiatus, but we are talking, and we'll be back soon.
Awesome. All right. And for my shout out, we just had a big event here in Indianapolis a few days ago, and I got to see the first total eclipse I remember seeing.
Oh wow.
So yeah, it was pretty awesome. And I I started work early that day so I could make sure I was off by the time it started. And we just went out into the backyard, and I had my special glasses on. And when the moon when it the moon reached totality over the sun, it it got it got dark like it was twilight. So you could see like sunlight a little bit on the horizon, but it was dark looking up into the sky, and you could even see could even see what looked like stars. But I pulled out my sky app and I was checking, and off to the left it was actually Jupiter, and then to the right there was Mars and Saturn, because they were almost aligned together on the other side of the sun over there. It was really awesome, and the temperature, I bet you it dropped about 10 degrees. It got a little cool, so it lasted about 3 or 4 minutes, but it was pretty awesome.
That's really cool. We had it partially here in Georgia. I think it was like 80% or something. And it's been a long time, I think, since I've seen a full eclipse, a total eclipse in this yeah. So, and I don't think we are supposed to get another one, at least in this area or whatever, to be able to see that for like a few decades. So,
So we had an eclipse here back in 2017, but it was only a partial eclipse. So let me tell you, the total eclipse it's different than just a partial, because you still got some sunlight, but when you got that total eclipse, that is really cool. That is something to see.
nice.
All right, if you'd like to comment on anything we've talked about tonight, you can reach us at our feedback line, 317-455-8411. Leave us a message, text us, or you can email us at batchumspodcast@gmail.com. All right, you ready to get out of here, Batchum?
Sure thing. Bat chums are ready to move out.
Atomic batteries to power, turbines to speed. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Don't worry, the worst is yet to come.